Time for Tim and Sid. Time for Tim and Sid. Time for Tim and Sid. Time for Tim and Sid.
Oh, yeah. It's time for real sports talk with Tim McCallum and Sid Sexero.
Thank you very much, Sheepdogs. Back here for another half hour on Tim and Sid, a little later than usual as we count down to Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final in Boston.
Jim Hughson will join us in just a second to tee up tonight's game. The Bruins haven't lost in the month of May. You heard me right, as they took over after a slow start in Game 1.
Finally, it's the Stanley Cup Final featuring the Boston Bruins up against the St. Louis Blues. Braden Shen shoots, he scores! The first goal goes to Saskatoon's Braden Shen. McAvoy moves back in, he shoots, he scores! The game is tied 2-2. Corelli shoots, he scores! Sean Corelli makes it 3-2, pile up in front in a wrestling match. Torrey Krug threw a big check. Number 47 coming all the way from his own end.
Shot knocked down by Chara, shaken up on the play.
There's the blood pouring out. This series is not going to be for the faint of heart. And the Boston Bruins have opened the 2019 Stanley Cup Final with a 4-2 victory.
If you are here for hockey, stick around. We have got you covered for the next 27 minutes full of whole grain hockey, Sydney, as we get you set for the Hockey Night in Canada crew.
Jim Hughson is part of that crew joining us live from Boston. Jim, how you doing?
Doing real well, thanks.
You know what? That's not the answer I
never
wanted.
get a game.
We'll get to the game in a second, Jim. I don't want to embarrass you. Congratulations on being awarded the Foster Hewitt Award. It was announced yesterday. Well played, sir. Well played.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I am humbled and honored. Some of my favorite broadcasters have won that award. Jim Robson, Dick Irvin, Danny Gallivan. So it's truly an honor for me to get a plaque next to those guys.
November 18th is the night you will be officially honored in that way. Last question on this, because I'm never going in the Hockey Hall of Fame in any way, shape, or form. Is that an email? Is that a phone call? How does that work?
I got a phone call a little while ago and was sworn to secrecy until they made the announcement yesterday. But there's a broadcast association, and Chuck Caton, who is also a member of this, has won this distinguished award, gave me a call and told me and said, but you can't tell anybody. So I didn't tell anybody, and then they told everybody.
Well, that is an awesome honor, and cool. Congratulations. Good on you, and you deserve it.
Thank you very much.
Let's get to the game. Craig Berube said that Robert Thomas is a no-go and said it had nothing to do with the Torrey Krug hit. With all due respect to a coach trying to protect his guys, we don't believe that it had nothing to do with the Torrey Krug hit, do we?
I do believe him. I didn't think that hit was huge. It looked really good because Torrey came most of the way down the ice. He did stop skating at the blue line, and he did hit Robert Thomas, and maybe it aggravated an injury that was already there. But the kid has been hurt for a while. Between the San Jose series and this one, he barely practiced, and there was some doubt that he would even play in game number 1. And he didn't get very much done. If you look at what's happened the last half dozen games when he's played with some sort of injury, I think he's got 1 assist. So maybe it aggravated it, but I don't think that was the real reason. I think that he was already hurt, and he's coming out. And I think I'm not sure why he was doubtful about who was coming in. I'm sure it's going to be Robbie Fabry. Plays the same kind of way and can play with the two guys, and they can just slot him in there. They don't have to change their lines. So I'm pretty sure that's what will happen for St. Louis tonight.
Jim, the Krug thing, the more I watch that, the thing that sticks out is how badly he wanted to put David Perron in the next week. And he pulled up at the last second because it was going to hurt his team, and he got a big hit anyway. The more I look at it, I'm kind of impressed with the way Krug kind of handled it.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the way he's played in this whole playoff. He is really exciting to watch, and you can just see him grow as the playoffs have gone on. He's a terrific skater. He thinks the game really well. He runs the power play that is one of the best power plays we've seen in the playoffs in many, many years. And that was a great battle. One of the things that I really like about the playoffs this year, and I guess it's a regular season this year as well, and there he was just having a glance at Perron and deciding to go after Thomas. But The thing that I love that the referees have done is anytime there's one of those battles like the one that Krug had with Perron, they've just let them go. And in the old days, what they would have done would whistle them down and either penalize both of them. Although if the whistle had gone, then they might have got in some sort of scrap. Now, it's not going to be much of a scrap between those two, but we've seen other ones where there could have been a fight. And instead, they put the pressure on the guys to get back in the play, even though there's probably a few infractions there that are going both ways. But the play goes on. The only thing that's really difficult for guys like me and for people who are sitting in the stands is it's really hard to watch when the puck's 200 feet away and these two guys are still battling. You can't decide who you want to see. But it is, I like the way they're handling that, and I like the way they handled that one, and it ended pretty well thanks to Torrey Krug thinking about not going after Perron when he had a chance.
Well, that's the discipline that impresses me about Boston. And listen, I know the Blues have been talking about discipline after taking 4 straight minor penalties, 5 overall in Game 1. But ever since the Bruins Cup run, I've been impressed with their ability to push their opponents over the edge without stepping over that same edge themselves. Have you noticed that as well? And does it impress you as much as it impresses me?
Yeah, they play a relentless game without taking a lot of bad penalties. They check. They don't necessarily go for big hits, but they take bodies and they separate people from pucks. I've been really impressed with their 3rd and 4th line guys who that's used to be where all the beef was in your lineup, and it's not necessarily anymore. All of these guys can skate, but they do play a relentless checking game. If they're not going to score, at least they can get something done by getting in on the defense, by making some plays, by getting the puck deep, and throwing some checks. So yeah, I've been pretty impressed with the Bruins all around. There's a lot of young guys on their team. We know they're veteran guys, the guys who have been involved in the 13 run and the 2011 Cup run. We know all of those guys, but what we've seen this year is the maturation of some really good young players. Like Matt Grzelcyk is a good player. He's going to be just like Torrey Krug, I think. Maybe not quite that much offense, but Connor Clifton is a really good player, and we've watched him grow. And Brandon Carlo, and that's just their defense. And Sean Corelli has become a really important player for them. So now the Blues need to counter that, because what the Bruins are doing with these 8 straight wins and having not lost in the month of May is playing a complete game throughout their lineup. And just like the last couple of series, the big line, the perfection line, didn't start this series very well. They weren't very good in game number 1. They got scored upon a couple of times. I guess they get better as the game went on, but it's the rest of the lineup that picked it up. Marcus Johansson was terrific. Corelli's line was great. And St. Louis has got to have an answer for that tonight, because their big boys might play even with Bergeron's line. Somebody else is going to have to get them a goal or two.
Since going to this format in 1939, teams that have won Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final have gone on to win 77% of the time. I don't know exactly what the 2-0 number is, Timmy. I'm assuming it's a lot higher than that. But even let's just discuss under the guise of St. Louis maybe losing this game again tonight and going down 0-2. Jim, is this the type of story in the Blues this year where even if that happens, no one's really going to write them off because it's St. Louis and they've been proving people wrong since January 3rd?
Yeah, but they do need a good game tonight. I think the number you're looking for is the teams that go up 2-0. It's happened 51 times, and 46 times that team has won the Stanley Cup. So those are pretty good odds in favor of the team that goes up 2-0. And remember, last year, Vegas won the first game, and then they lost 4 straight. So this is a big game for St. Louis tonight. I think that they need to take this back to St. Louis 1-1. You know, you can't write them off, and you're right about their season and the story that it's been, but you got to look at the other team that they're up against right now. And I don't like their chances of beating the Boston Bruins 4 times in 5 games. So they got to win tonight and even this up 1-1. I think we need to see their best game tonight. We saw a little bit of it in the first period in game number 1. And then for whatever reason, some people thought they were just trying to protect a 2-0 lead. I thought it was way too early for that, and it didn't happen. I thought that the Bruins skating game got going and St. Louis got a little scared of it and it backed them off a bit. But they've got to be tenacious tonight. They've got to dictate the way the game is being played. And so we need to see their best game. And I'm really interested to see if their best game is good enough against Boston.
And we're about 19 minutes away from beginning to see that. Jim, always great talking hockey with you. Congratulations once again on the award, and have a great call tonight.
Thank you very much. Nice to be with you both.